Hello and welcome to Black Women's History 2023, a series where we highlight the profiles of influential Black American women. This series is presented by the National Abolition Hall of Fame and Museum, whose mission is to honor anti-slavery abolitionists, their work to end slavery, and the legacy of that struggle, and strive to complete the second and ongoing abolition, the moral conviction to end racism. Born in Senegal, West Africa in 1753, Phillis Wheatley would grow to become an author and poet of tremendous importance in American literature. At the age of 7 or 8, she was sold into slavery and brought to the British colonies in North America, where she was purchased by the prosperous merchant Wheatley family of Boston, Massachusetts. The Wheatleys recognized her intelligence and potential and gave her an education, which was uncommon for enslaved people at the time. They allowed their daughter to tutor Phillis. Therefore, Phillis Wheatley learned to read and write, which was often considered a crime for enslaved people. Phillis Wheatley turned out to be a prodigious learner and began writing poetry at a young age. Her first published poem, On Mercer's Hussy and Coffin, was printed in a local newspaper, the Rhode Island Newport Mercury, on December 21st, 1767, when she was just 14 years old. The note that accompanied the publication stated that Wheatley, who was a keen observer of her surroundings, had written the poem after hearing of a ship's narrow escape from being cast away at Cape Cod, while the story was told at Mr. Wheatley's dinner table. She ends her poem with the lines, "Had I the tongue of a seraphim, how would I exalt thy praise? Thy name as incense to the heavens should fly, and the remembrance of thy goodness to the shoreless ocean of beatitude. Then should the earth glow with seraphic ardor. Blessed soul, which sees the day while light doth shine, to guide his steps to trace the mark divine." Perhaps these lines mix with her own experience of crossing the ocean during the Middle Passage. Indeed, many of her writing would mix her personal experiences with her deep Christian beliefs. Wheatley went on to write a number of poems on a variety of subjects, including religion, nature, and patriotism, and her work was praised for its eloquence and sophistication. In 1773, Phillis Wheatley published her first and only book of poetry, poems on various subjects, religious and moral. First published in London, England, when she was about 20 years old. This was a groundbreaking achievement as it made her the first Black American and the first enslaved person to publish a book of poetry in the United States. The book was well received both in the United States and in Europe, and it helped to establish Phillis Wheatley as a significant literary figure. Wheatley was eventually freed by the Wheatley family and traveled to London, where she met much acclaim, even being able to meet with the mayor of London and receiving the patronage of a countess. However, despite her talent and accomplishments, Phillis Wheatley faced significant obstacles due to her race and status as an enslaved or formerly enslaved person. Her work was often dismissed or ignored by white readers, and she struggled to gain recognition and financial support for her writing. Nonetheless, she continued to produce poetry and essays, at one point even corresponding with General George Washington, who she had written a poem of, and she became a prominent figure in Boston's intellectual and literary circles. She eventually returned to Boston to care for ill members of the Wheatley family, after which she married a free Black man named John Peters. However, the couple struggled financially and had difficulty supporting themselves and their children. In later years, Phillis Wheatley worked as a domestic servant and was unable to continue her literary career. Despite the obstacles she faced in her own time, Phillis Wheatley's impact on American literature and culture is significant. Her work challenged stereotypes and prejudice about race and gender, and it demonstrated the intellectual capacity and literary potential of enslaved people who were often denied education and professional and academic achievements. Her work has become canon literature, read at college-level American literature classes as an example of the early contributions of Black Americans to American literature traditions. Her legacy continues to inspire writers and scholars, and her work remains an important part of the American literary canon. Thank you for attending today's introduction to the life of Phillis Wheatley. Please help us by completing a brief survey at the link available on your screen and in the video description. Your feedback will help NAHOF receive funding and plan future projects like this one. Also, feel free to contact NAHOF with any questions or comments via the comments section or at the contact info on your screen. Don't forget to give us a follow on social media, and we hope to see you at our next presentation. Thank you.